Walk into a rural gas station or a small hotel at 3 a.m., and you will usually find a single employee sitting behind a counter. They're surrounded by the tools of passive security, a grid of camera feeds on a monitor, a sturdy desk, and a locked glass door. From the inside, these spaces feel secure, but the night shift introduces a physical hazard that doesn't exist during the day: the lighting contrast between the fluorescent interior and the pitch-black exterior. Look at this layout. The lighting dynamic turns the storefront into a display case. Anyone outside in the dark has total visibility, but from the cashier's perspective, bright interior lights reflect off the glass, blinding the worker to the exterior, favoring an unseen observer. The wide windows and open layouts designed to welcome late-night commerce inadvertently strip the worker of situational awareness. They create an environment where a predator can watch for hours without ever being detected. Some businesses try to solve this by sealing the building entirely. Small hotels often use automatic electronic locks after midnight, requiring guests to be buzzed in by the front desk to keep threats outside the perimeter. But this system is easily exploited. At a small 3-story hotel, a man buzzed the front door at 11 p.m. He wore a backpack, acted polite, asked for a room. He handed over a credit card. It was stolen, but the transaction went through. By using the standard script of a paying customer, he gained legal entry into the building. A couple of hours later, the clerk noticed something wrong. The keycard entry log showed no activity. The guest had never gone to his assigned room on the second floor. This diagram maps what the intruder was actually doing. For hours, he paced the first-floor hallway, retreated into stairwells to hide, and loitered outside random rooms. This path kept him inside the secure perimeter, but outside the clerk's line of sight. A locked exterior door only keeps you safe if the interior is secure. Once an intruder bypasses that initial checkpoint, those same locked doors serve to trap the worker inside a cage with the intruder. When physical doors aren't an option, workers rely on internal boundaries. In a rural gas station, the front counter serves as the designated dividing line between the employee and the public. A clerk named Meredith experienced this vulnerability through a man named Paul. He didn't come in to buy anything or cause a scene. He came in to observe. Standing just feet away, Paul began sharing his findings. He noted the precise way she dotted her eyes with little slashes on the whiteboard. He pointed out the way her left eyelid twitched when she was tired, and he knew exactly when she locked the backroom door at 2 a.m. He eventually escalated his surveillance. After returning from a break, Meredith found a Polaroid sitting on her counter. It was a close-up photo of her from behind, taken while she was refilling washer fluid. It proved Paul had been outside in the dark, watching her from the exterior blind spots. This tactic of exploiting open sightlines is common. At another gas station, a clerk spent her shift unaware of a brand-new plateless Subaru idling at the very edge of the parking lot. The occupants never came inside. They simply parked in the camera's blind spot for hours. Glass counters and wide-open parking lots offer absolute zero defense against predators who use sustained observation as their primary weapon. They allow threats to gather information with complete impunity. When the lobby and the parking lot feel exposed, workers retreat to the back office. At a rural 25-room motel, a clerk named Daniel relied on a back-office sanctuary equipped with a monitor for security feeds and an auditory call bell that would ping whenever someone approached the front desk. On a cold Tuesday night at 2 a.m., the bell rang. Daniel walked out to the lobby, but no one was there. 10 minutes later, it rang again. Still empty. He assumed some teenagers were playing a prank, ding-dong ditching the front doors, so he assumed the threat was outside the building. To catch the prankster, Daniel turned down the lobby lights and sat in the chair directly behind the front desk. He waited in the quiet. Then the bell rang a third time. A pale hand reached up from the tight, pitch-dark space beneath his own desk to press the silver dome. Daniel bolted to the back room and locked the door. When he checked the security monitors, he saw a tall man in a hoodie crawl out from beneath the reception desk on his hands and knees. The intruder hadn't triggered the door buzzer or been caught walking across the lobby. By staying low to the floor, he was able to navigate the dead zones between the camera sightlines, crawling all the way into the clerk's personal workspace undetected. The belief that you see everything through a grid of security feeds is a dangerous distraction. While the camera lens focused on the lobby, It missed the human being crouched inches from the clerk's legs. In all of these cases, the authorities were called. By the time police arrived at the motel, the man under the desk had slipped out and vanished. At the gas station, Paul was arrested and hit with a restraining order. The plateless Subaru drove off before anyone could confront the men inside. The physical encounters ended, but the psychological toll remained. Meredith transferred to a gas station 2 hours away, but she still locks her bathroom door when she showers in an empty apartment. Daniel struggles to look at his front desk without picturing a hand reaching up from the shadows. These stories expose a vulnerability in the social contract of commerce, the underlying assumption that commercial spaces are safe simply because people agree to behave in a predictable way. We rely on thin wood, a cheap electronic lock, and a camera lens to enforce that contract. But when a predator decides to ignore those rules, those physical barriers are revealed as entirely powerless. The true horror of the night shift isn't just physical isolation. It's the sudden realization that the architecture built to protect you was always just an illusion.